A big thing that they talked about at the Mackinac Policy Conference was that deregulation would help the federal government be able to have a role in that. You see it differently?
Well, I think the question is not really about deregulation, it's about re-regulation, right? And of course, when you talk to certain people, they've got a hammer and every problem's a nail. But it's not about too much regulation, it's about the wrong regulations in the wrong places. And I think it's part and parcel of the federal government to step in and say, we're going to incentivize a change in the way that we regulate, right? So certain kinds of zoning that empower building the kinds of affordable housing that people need and deserve, that we're going to invest in that. But we're also going to align a lot of the ways that, the federalism, whether it's the state, the county, or the local municipality, that they can work together. And I happen to know a lot about this because I worked in both city and county government. And I understand the ways that sometimes there's misalignment that just makes people jump through unnecessary hoops. So what I'm saying is some of these hoops are necessary, but some of them could be jumped at the same time, right? So you do want folks to make sure that this is a safe building, for example, and people aren't building the kinds of buildings that are ultimately going to end up being a fire hazard or collapse, right, in the setting of some wind. But you also want to make sure that you are limiting the number of checkpoints that are needed so that you are as efficient as possible. So, folks will tell you that we just need to deregulate everything. I think sometimes they don't think enough about the long-term consequences of doing that. But folks that will tell you that everything's just fine are not paying attention to the issue. To me, it's let's identify the nature of the problem and let's adjust accordingly to make sure that we're able to get the outcome that we want while not inadvertently opening up to other outcomes that we don't need. And having been somebody who's actually had to make government work for people, I haven't been one of these DC career politicians who sees a problem from afar and thinks they know the answer. I've actually had to work in local government. I understand sometimes how federal regulation gets in the way, but also some of the places that federal support and re-regulation could be really valuable.